I'm Lindsey Vaala. I am a member of the Board of Governors of the DC Bar, and I'm a senior associate at Vincent & Elkins. I'm here today to talk with J. Newton Small, the author of Broad Influence, How Women Are Changing the Way America Works. I'm in a big law firm, and I do think you're seeing that shift already. We now call it family leave policy rather than, maternity leave. You're starting to see those kinds of changes, more men asking the same types of questions that I think the women have been asking for a while. One thing that strikes me about the public sector is, despite the fact that we've made a lot of progress in the number of women in the public sector and government and politics, there hasn't been yet a lot of movement on paid family leave for government workers. Any idea as to why, or what the horizon looks like for that issue?
So it's striking to me, women really came into the public sector after Anita Hill. So we're talking about the impact of the judiciary in many ways.
Yep.
It was the driving force of this. So you'll remember there was the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearings on the Hill. Anita Hill testified against him, saying that he had sexually harassed her. And there was an all-white, all-male panel of men who just eviscerated her on national TV and just went after her personally, questioned her motivations, and millions of women across America were outraged. And it inspired women, thousands of women, to run for office, and it tripled the number of women in the Senate. It increased by 50% the number of women in the House. Thousands and thousands and thousands of women ran for lower offices, down ballot in state legislatures and state senates. But then you also saw the number of women applying to law school the year after peaked at 52%, levels that we have not seen since. I think we're at 48% right now. And so there was this huge kind of sea change. That was the first time the Senate began to sustain a plural presence of women, was 1993. And that was the year that they passed the Family Medical Leave Act, right? And that didn't exist before then. In fact, so much legislation didn't exist before then. When you started getting women to office, not only did we get family medical leave, but we got the Violence Against Women's Act. We got the state health insurance fund for kids. You got welfare reform. You got all research used to be done only on men in terms of medical research at the National Institutes of Health. Even though female bodies are obviously very different, right?
Different concerns for sure.
Right? And it wasn't until women legislators said that's kind of crazy. You should do research on both sexes and fund it. That they actually did that. Breast cancer research funding was $100,000 a year back in 1993. It's now obviously 1,000 times that. So, I mean, really the perspective of women coming in has changed the way we govern enormously and continues to. I mean, and that was a lot of low-hanging fruit of stuff that was really obviously needed to change. But it is something that remains to be done. Childcare and paid family leave are two of the biggest game changers that you can have to bringing women into the workforce. And America just right now is not in a place where it looks like we can pass them because they're so expensive. And so you see them, they've really helped create almost fully equal workforces in places like Scandinavia.